I just want to do God's will.
What you're seeking is a blessing from God.
You must expect a miracle.
You have the power of choice.
Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ.
Welcome to Life Today Live. Randy Robinson here. And, you know, I think the older you get, the more you fall into the trap a little too easily of, those kids these days, right? We become crotchety old men and women. Not trying to do that. Because really there are some great things going on, you know, with the younger generation. My kids are all in their 20s. But, you know, God does things in every generation. And I'm going to spotlight one of those today. I went to an awards festival, a film and video kind of a awards thing. Actually was a keynote speaker at their awards banquet, and met a lot of aspiring filmmakers. And when I say aspiring, they're actually doing it in some form or another. And they had their big awards night, and it's really cool to see sort of the how do I put it? This is like the place where your future filmmakers gather, and you see, you know, the cream of the crop rise to the top, and I'll look back on this 10 years from now and go, I remember so and so back when they were at this small independent kind of film thing, and now they're doing the big thing. So it's kind of cool to watch that, and I'm very much a supporter of that, a fan of that. And you're going to meet one of the youngest award winners from that festival. It's called Content 2022 out at Capernaum Studios, where they've shot a bunch of The Chosen and things like that. His name is Brandon Swartz. He's about to start his senior year of high school, and he already knows what he wants to do, and he's already doing it. He's making a bunch of short films, getting a little longer and longer, doing some acting. He's learning the ropes. And I thought, you know what, I want to do two things. I want to encourage a young Christian filmmaker and bring them on the program. And I also wanted you, the audience, to be inspired by what God's doing in high school kids these days. So that's what we're doing today. Appreciate you being here. If you haven't subscribed, followed, shared, liked, do those things. And meet Brandon Swartz. Brandon, great to have you on Life Today Live.
Hi, I'm excited to be here.
So let's back up a little bit before we talk about some of the actual short films that you've done and the ones that you've won awards for. Where did this come from? I mean, is this just the fact that everybody in your generation has an iPhone and can make movies? Or, you know, where did your interest in filmmaking start?
Well, it started, it was a little while ago. So I was like 10 or 11. And at that point, I'd realized sports aren't my thing. And so my parents were like, well, you need to do something that's getting you out of the house so we don't have to take care of this rambunctious young child 24/7. And so I had a friend who was in a TV show, and he recommended this acting camp, and I took it, and I'm like, whoa. Because at the time I hadn't realized that like television was like a feasible thing. To me, it was like, whoa, it's so far away, and only people who were born into it. Like, it's like, to me, it was like the Queen. And
Untouchable. Yes,
exactly. And so I went to that camp, and I met a bunch of people who had been in TV shows and stuff, and I'm like, whoa, I love this. And so they were like, I wasn't great, and they're like, okay, go get some practice, go do some acting. And so I started doing musical theater, and I did that for a long time. And then a few years ago, when I started high school, I met my wonderful teacher. His name is Nathan Blair, and I took his intro to film class, and he kind of just instilled this like excitement where it's like, whoa, I can make these films that I'm watching.
Yeah.
And so that's when I kind of switched over from acting to, well, maybe I'm on like the director or cinematographer side of things. And so at that point I kind of was like, well, I want to know what I want to do. So I went all in and just completely started going crazy, doing everything I could.
So, you know, a guy like me, I am so jealous of you at this point in time in you know, the history of technology, because I was the kid in high school that bought a very expensive Super VHS camera, and I was shooting and making things, and the quality was I mean, it was better than what anybody at home could get because everybody else was on a VHS camera or an old 8mm film camera, but it was a lot of hard work. The technology today makes it so much easier, but that doesn't necessarily make it better. So, by the way, try everything. Do all of it. Do the cinematography, do the acting, do the lighting, do directing. Obviously, try some writing. Try it all because you'll find your place. And if you don't end up in one place, the fact that you've done it will help you deal with those who do end up in that place. Let's talk about what got you to Content 2022, and the awards that you won. What was the film that you submitted to that independent film contest?
So I had a film called God's Grace and Mercy, which was a documentary where I interviewed 4 different pastors and people in the church and all sorts of things about how God has shown them and people in their community grace and mercy in their lives.
Why that? Because that's not what normal. I say normal. Not what average 17-year-old or high school students are doing.
Yeah. So, I wasn't actually going to make a 25-minute documentary. This all started because I took a worldview class this year, which is required. And the assignment right before Christmas break was using whatever medium you want, pick one of the 7 attributes of God. I think it was 7 attributes of God, and display that to us using the medium you choose. Okay. And so I, of course, begged my teacher to let me and my best friend Sophia, or my 2 best friends, Sophia and John. I'm like, can we come together and make this film? And she's like, oh, fine. So she said we could, and it was originally going to be a 3 to 5 minute thing where I just asked my pastor a few questions. And then my brain was like, oh, but it would be fun if you had multiple opinions. And I'm like, oh, that would be good. And then I was like, but wait, we need different demographics. Like, you can't just ask a pastor. And then what about like different genders? Maybe they have different experiences. And so my mind just started racing, right? And so eventually we cobbled together a wonderful cast of people. I have Matthew Marion, who is a pastor, my friend's youth pastor. We have one of my close friends who is the wife of a different youth pastor, and then just a random woman that we were at youth group one night because our last guy canceled on us on accident. His wife went into labor that morning, and we're like, well, so that's a good reason to cancel. So we were like, oh no, we need one more person, because we could have just had 3, but I'm like, I kind of want 4. I think that'd be good. And so there was this nice lady, I forget her name. She's wonderful. I think her name is Sarah. I could be wrong about that. But I met her once, and we had a 2-minute conversation. And because of that 2-minute conversation, I'm like, hey, would you mind letting me interview you? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. And I haven't spoken to her since because I don't know where she went, but I haven't seen her since then. And, but she was wonderful in the video. And so I got everyone, I asked all the questions, and then I put it all together, and I turned it in, and I got an A, and I'm like, why don't I just submit this to Content? Because I was already submitting another film, and I was like, I might as well send this in. I put in all the work, and it looks good. And then it got nominated for 5 awards.
Nice. And you won at least 1, if not 2, didn't you? I
did. I won 2 awards.
Yeah.
I won the, oh goodness, what was it? It was the Best Student Documentary and Best Message in Forgiveness and Bondage. So
that's kind of a funny title, but
yeah.
why? Okay, a class project, yes. What direction do you see yourself going? Are you going to try to stick with Christian content, or are you going to get out in the world and kind of do a little secular, do a little of each? Because I mean, I'm not here judging. I mean, whatever path God calls you to. I'm just curious if you got any idea at this young age.
So right now I'm mostly doing not specifically like just Christian films, but usually films that are a Christian environment. Like I just wrapped on a television show called Fragment. or Fragment Chapter 2 actually, and that's also directed by Nathan Blair. So they finished that yesterday, I believe, and so that is a Christian film. And then I've been on other sets where they're not inherently Christian films, but they are made by Christians, and so it's like a very Christian environment. But I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I think it would be good to work on some secular films, but that's always like a risky game, right? And so you kind of have to pick and choose and be careful of certain things in this industry, because this industry is very difficult to navigate. I've seen firsthand.
Yeah, I've lived it because I've worked, you know, a lot of different projects, more television than film, but I did work for the Oklahoma Film Office for a short time. So I've been on film sets. So what do you want? I mean, I know again you're young, but that's God calls us at young ages. You have a clarity that a lot of your classmates don't have, for one, as you already know. But do you have any sense of calling in this, or is it just an interest, which is fine too?
I know for sure that I'm called to film and theater and that sort of thing. The hard thing is finding where I fall in, because I love every part of it. And as I've learned from making films, the biggest thing you have to do is delegate. And I'm not great at delegating because I'm like, oh, but I want to film it and write it and edit it and and you can't do that. And so it's insane. So where I'm at right now is getting on as many film sets as I can, whether that's as an actor, which is what I primarily do, is acting. But I use that to get on the sets so I can watch and observe. It's funny, I was on a set recently, and I got super duper close with every person on set, because I literally I would just be like, can I like follow you for an hour and watch what you do? And yeah, and it's amazing, because not only do I get like a firsthand viewing of everything that's going on, I also get to meet some incredible people. The film that I was just on, we were in Kentucky. I was only there for about a week, but it was called Not Your Romeo and Juliet. And it was done by Asbury University. Oh, I have the shirt. Asbury University. Nice. And I followed everyone around. Like, I don't think there was a person there who didn't know me, just because I was so obnoxiously, what's the word?
Curious.
Yes, exactly. I just injected myself in everything, because I was just so interested in everything going on. It was so cool, and I loved it. Like, every moment of it was incredible. I also got to work with one of my closest friends, who was the lead in that film. Her name is Ashley Butler. She won an acting award at Content this year. And then we were in a film a few years ago called Stealing the Show, which was also directed by Nathan Blair. And it was a lot of fun getting to work with her again, because we were both kind of like watching everything and we're like, what's going on there? That's so cool. What's that? And then we get distracted by something else, and we're like, it was awesome.
Yeah. What's funny is when you see people later in life that are very successful, every time you dig into their stories, they're kids like Brandon, and like, how did you someone that has a passion for something, especially when it manifests at an early age, and they learn and they stick with it. And Brandon, you'll go through some ups and downs, but if you keep moving forward, you'll find yourself in some amazing places. So the place for online, is YouTube probably the best place for them to watch your films if they want to see them?
Yeah. So I have, what do I have? I have the documentary is up online, and then the other short film that I did called Shadows, which is a reimagining of the fall of man. And
that's a heavy subject. I'm just laughing. You're not hitting the light with this is this is not Minecraft.
Oh no! See, that was a fun one, because there's another competition that my school goes to at Bob Jones University, which is a college in South Carolina, and it's a Christian festival. And this year and last year I've submitted films, and so this year I'm like, okay, I want to submit something. and it was like a week before everything was due. And so I call. I know it was so last minute because I fully forgot we could do films. And then someone was like, "Are you doing one this year?" And I'm like, "Wait, that's an option." But like I wanted to do it, and so I was like, I want to make it a biblical film because I had some friends who'd won a few years ago with a film called Libertas. It's a great short film, and it's a sci-fi retelling of Christ sacrificing himself for everyone's sins, and it was so good. And it was like, well, I want to do that, but like I want to pick a very out of the box genre and a very known story and see if I can tie them together and make it work.
Yeah.
This was mostly just for me. So I called up my friends and I'm like, do y'all want to make a horror movie about the fall of man? And they're like, Brennan, you have 2 days. I'm like, yeah, we're going to film tomorrow and I'm going to stay up all night editing. And they're like, and we got third place.
Nice.
And it was awesome. It turned out really well. I have a friend, we put him in a morph suit for it. And he is now infamous at our school for being the kid to traumatize young children in the morphs. It was great, but yeah.
That is so cool. Now, I love that you're just trying stuff, and then that you're putting it out there, because that's how you learn. That's how you get seen. That's how you make connections, and it's a lot of us, as you've probably heard by now, it's not what you know, it's who you know. That's a very important part of the whole thing. I put up there a second ago. I'll put it up again right now. Alleyway Boys production company, and that's his handle on YouTube. If you want to go check out Brandon's.
That
is that the right one?
That is, yes. So me and my friend John, he helped me with the documentary. He does all my sound because sound is very scary to me. He is my designated sound guy and he loves it.
Nice.
And I think you met him at Content too. I think he was with me. We a few years ago, the first time we submitted to that competition, the Bob Jones one, we're like, okay, it'd be kind of cool if we came up with like a production company name. Because like then we could be like, yeah, we started a production company when we were 15. And so we did it. And it came from when we were filming Stealing the Show, because he was in that too. We were in Cheyenne, Wyoming for a month in 2020 and October 2020. And so we were all just locked up there for a month filming a movie. And one day we had a day off and we're like, it'd be kind of cool if we filmed a fight scene in this alley. And so we did it. And it's the first video on there, and it's not great, but it was a start. It was a start, and everyone has to start somewhere. And
you got to learn how to self-critique. That's fair. We all do it.
Exactly, yeah. And so we were trying to come up with a name, and I forget, I think it was him who was like, let's call it Alleyway Boy Productions. And so me and him like founded this, I guess, production thing. It's mainly just where we share our videos and stuff like that, but that's it's becoming more and more of like we have meetings every once in a while where we're like, okay, we want to get a project going. I want to start working on something for
so smart.
Next film festival season.
There you go.
Right now we have 3 projects going, so it's always fun.
Yeah, no, and I love the fact that you're organized at your age, because that's a critical part in getting people involved, and that's, you're creating your own community of filmmakers, and you're all learning together, and you're putting yourself out there. I'm curious. I want to show people Content 2022 is coming up this fall in September. Those are the dates. The website there is christianmediaconference.com, christianmediaconference.com, and Content 2022 is a great place. They got a wide range of talent and filmmakers. And if you are on the young side of this or the entry-level side of this, it's a great place to connect and to get started. And I'm curious, Brandon, do you guys have anything set up to enter into the fall competition?
We are working on a film right now called One Last Sunrise that I wrote and am directing, and it's about a girl who is slowly passing away, and her and her 2 best friends sneak out for one last night where they can try to finish all the things on her bucket list. And we're hoping to get that filmed pretty soon. I'm excited about this one. I'm very proud of it, how the script turned out.
Good. You should be, because that's how you just keep doing what you're doing. What do you tell anybody that maybe, I'm sure people now start to ask you after you win a few film awards and you kind of get known around your school, around your community as the movie guy. You got younger kids coming up asking you, how do I do this? You got those questions yet?
Yeah, it's crazy at content even.
Oh, okay.
I was on like they were doing the pictures by the cool wall with like the content playing one
Right.
thing, and so I was standing there getting pictures, and someone came up and they're like, "Hey, I'm an aspiring filmmaker, and you obviously know what you're doing because you've made it." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, what? I did what?" And so it's crazy. It's happening more and more often.
So what do you
And I'm
tell
like,
them? What's your advice to a 15 or 14-year-old aspiring filmmaker?
Absolutely. Well, I tell people that just get out there and start doing what you can. I was talking to my friend about this last night, actually, because she was like, I want to be in film. And I'm like, cool. Just start meeting people. Film festivals, conventions, anywhere you can go to just meet people. And don't be scared to talk. Like, you're all there, and you at least have one thing in common, and that is that you love movies, right? If you want to be in film, it's very unlikely that you're like, yes, I want to do this. I hate film, but I want to do it. No one's like that. We all love film and television.
Just the electricians, you'll find that out.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
But no, yeah, I'm like, yeah, so just get out there, start meeting people, start making your own films. Like, you look at the YouTube channel, I have ones on there where I'll go back and I'll rewatch them and like, it's bad, so bad, no. And it's not because it was terrible when I made it. It's because I learned a lot out of making it. There's one on there called Homework. Horrendous, so bad. But it is the first time I finished a project. And that is something that does not happen often. A lot of times in film,
It's true.
there's ideas and there's no like commitment to the final project. There's just, I want to
So
do
true.
this. It'd be cool if I did this. And so my advice is get out there, start doing stuff, start meeting people, and practice just finishing. Like, even if it's bad, just finish a project, because not only do you get that like, I did it feeling. It's a great feeling. But also it teaches you that you can finish, even if it's like crazy. Just getting it done is always better than leaving it sitting and forgetting about it.
That's wisdom beyond your years. A lot of adults need to hear that right there. Because we have ideas. I am drowning in a book right now that I've been working on for years. I've finished other books in between, but getting completing the task is actually a huge part of success. Because if you don't ever complete the task, you'll never have the chance to fail or succeed.
Exactly.
And so you got to get past the fear of even failure, just to get to completion. Can you see? I'm guessing you can the way you've talked, but when you look at your past projects, and you're saying, terrible, you're self-critiquing, which is good. Do you see progress in improvement from project to project?
Oh, absolutely. And I have, again, for that one, I have to give a lot of credit to Nathan Blair. Because when we are in his classes, he doesn't hold back on the critique. He's never like, it's so bad, it's garbage. But he's always teaching us how to critique things.
Nice.
By not being like, oh yeah, it's great.
Right.
Like, he's like, well, this could be better, but this is awesome. So keep this and try improving this. And then if you have questions, he explained it. And that's how I kind of learned to self-critique. I learned it's not bad to think things you do aren't as good as you wanted them to be, as long as you are actively trying to get better. So like, looking back from my first project, which was Homework, to the documentary specifically, but really anything I'm working on now, I learned how editing works. Editing's a big one, because a lot of the cuts I would use on that first one are 10-second shots, which you don't want. You don't want super long shots next to each other for no reason if it's like an action sequence. And that's what I did. And so I just finished editing for a school project. I had to edit one of my friend's films, and he did an action scene at the end. And that was the part everyone loved. They're like, the editing on this is so good. And I was like, I did it.
Yeah, you did it. Yep.
And so I was very proud of that. But just being one of the other things I would tell young filmmakers, this is circling back a little bit, but always be open to learn from your past works. As good as it is, you can always critique it. That's why you're watching YouTube videos of people spending hours critiquing like Marvel films. Even Marvel films have things to learn, because you can always make what you're doing better. So always be open to that critique of yourself and from others, but mostly from yourself, because if you're able to look and say, okay, that could have been better, that's great, because then you know what you need to improve upon the next time. And that's something that not a lot of people can do.
Well, and that is a lot of wisdom from a very young man. And you're not only learning the film side of things, you're learning the life side of things. I don't know if you even realize it yet, but you legit are. I can hear them coming out of your mouth, and that's encouraging. Brandon, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down, and brother, keep at it. You clearly have some talent. I'll just say that, and people have probably told you that, but talent is not enough. And the dedication I see, the work ethic I see, and it's going to take all those, and the connections and the humility to even take criticism and to learn from others and to follow others around and learn just by observing. Those are all very mature aspects of a person, and some people don't get all of them, and it hinders them their whole lives. So good for you. I don't know. I see some potential, a lot of potential right here, and appreciate you guys in the audience hanging out and watching. I think you see it too. I can tell by some of the reactions I'm getting. But Brandon, thank you, and best of luck to you in the future with these, not just the competitions, but with every step you make. Where have you got now? I got to plug Oral Roberts University, because that's where I studied film. Actually, studied film as my major at Oral Roberts. I don't know where they are on the spectrum of things. I think Liberty may be outpacing them these days, but just saying, or just go anywhere. But
yeah, thank you so much.
Best to you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys watching. If you are interested in, there's a site called Film Freeway where you can submit short films to all these different competitions. Once you get on their list, you will not have a day where they're not sending you a film competition to enter. It does cost money. They charge for all that. But one of them on there is Content 2022. And if you're interested specifically in that Christian Media Conference, it's christianmediaconference.com. Coming up the middle of September is the next one. And that's, again, a fabulous organization, and an easy entry level. If you're wanting to learn, to make some connections, to meet some good people, I would always send you there. And check out Brandon's Alleyway Boys production company on YouTube. And you can see the progress and see the future things that he's putting out. And if you're a budding filmmaker, go for it. Go for it. We need more of you in the Christian arena. We need excellence with a good message. Appreciate you coming back. We got more great interviews right here for you on Life Today Live. We'll see you again next time.
In these last days.
Thank you for joining us live on the air.
My pleasure.
Television, the drug of a nation, breeding ignorance and feeding radiation. TV.
You're the freak. You're the freak. You're the freak.
Exploits